Oh, has that got it? Hello, and welcome to your local woods. Or good day, or from the funny farm. Just an interesting note, right? So I've come out to get a couple of errands done this morning. I thought I'd stop and have a coffee and a smoke break with you. I'm using that as the thing. I can't really even look at this camera, right? So I'm ruminating. First things first. I come down. There's a team of guys in rafts in the middle of the river. A team of guys on the Cornish side of the river. A team of guys on the Devon side of the river. Now, looks like they're doing a survey to me. I asked one of the guys because he looked a bit confused, lost, where he was trying to make his way over a difficult piece of ground. Said to him, "There's an easier way to go. Just 50 yards that way, mate." He looked quite affronted and said, "Oh no, the team leader wants me to stick as close to the river as I can." I said, "What are you looking for, mate?" And he looked terribly busy and didn't answer. So, right, what are we actually doing here? We're having a coffee, because it's a well-deserved coffee. It's a pleasant morning. Like when you're indoors in an urban environment on days like today, you look out the window and you wrap yourself up and ooh, it's a cold, dark day out there. But when you're living in it and you're working in it, this is a nice day. Chilly on the fingers, if you're working in wet, but it's a nice day. It's a nice winter's day. No driving rain, no snow, no howling wind. This is pleasant. So I've been wanting to do chucking coffee all over myself. I've been wanting to do one of these as a kind of homage to Dwayne Knoll and Bjorn. I can't remember your full name, Bjorn, but there's a couple of guys out there at the moment that are doing some interesting things outside of just reporting the news, which there are lots of people in the mainstream that get paid to do nothing but talk. Like Russell Brand is a very good orator and commentator. For example, Russell though, mate, you've buggered off to Florida in the heat of a fight. You've always been a little bit flaky, didn't you? Tell everybody to vote Labour when I buggered off to Brexit. You were going, "Oh, everybody's got to vote Labour because we've got to get rid of the Tories." Ed Miliband's little whatever that was. Now I understand, I understand you get caught up in the fanfare of it all. I can relate, which is why I have to separate myself from the fanfare. Otherwise, it's easy to get caught up in another man's game. Florida's nice, Russ. I get it. Florida is nice. And there are mornings that I get up and I think, fuck it hell, I'd rather be in Florida. But we're doing what we're doing. So, funny farm. We've got sites all over the place. But the one that I wanted to talk to you about, before I get to that, land custodians, right? So, I don't have massive land holdings in this world. Right? What I do have is a few stakes in communal plots that have come up over the course of a few years. One example, a friend of mine came back from overseas to his ancestral home where his parents had passed away. He'd taken up ownership of the thing, part ownership with his sister. He then had to buy his sister out of her stake because she wanted to use the portion of the money for something else. I bought about 1/4 of an acre of land for, I think it was about $1,000. And I kept a cargo container on it, and I had some paintings in there, and it was a handy little stop-off point during my touring commute, which does take place. Let me But these little spots that I find of strategic importance to me, I like to have a stake in a piece of land that has or is adjoining to public access, because I think it's going to be down to like freeholders in a minute to maintain the public's right to access all of this land. Now, I know like we live in an artificial bubble where people are being left, right and centre, they're being hijacked and they're having to pay over the odds in an inflated bubble of property prices. So they think, well, I paid this much for this land, and you know, like all they do is leave cans of Coke and litter everywhere. That's the price of being a custodian. That's the price of being a custodian to land. You look after it. And we live in such a dyspraxic time right now that a lot of the population have been segregated from the land. So when they come, they don't think, oh, if I throw this crisp packet down, a horse might eat it and it might cause a vet's bill. They don't know that. They're ignorant to that. Right? And if you want to be a custodian of land, then you have to be embracing of the idea of sharing it, even with people that you might not want to share it with. So it's an important thing to keep in mind, I think, that when you get stakes in this world, you shouldn't pat yourself on the back and think, oh yeah, look at what I've won. You should feel a heavy sense of responsibility of what it is that you are now responsible for. But anyway, right, so Stonehouse was one of the things, like fucking Plymouth, fucking Stonehouse. Now a mate of mine come to me last year, and he says, oh, I'm interested, I've been hanging around in this cafe, I'm interested in doing a thing in Stonehouse. Do you want to come and do it? You want to come and help me out? I said, I'll give it 6 months, but by the way, fuck you. No, fuck Plymouth, fuck Stonehouse, and fuck you for bringing it up. Because I've got a long and interesting, colourful history with Plymouth, so, right. But, in for a penny, in for a pound. I said, yeah, right. Fuck you, but I'm game. So, what's it been now? It's been 8 months, and I've done some interesting little work in the town. Someone said to me the other day, oh, what have you been up to this week? Other than quarrying and chasing livestock, which is that takes up a lot of my time these days, even more than coffee and cigarettes. But what have I been up to this week? Well, we had a meeting last week with the Royal Mint set up because there's this Nigerian company that wants to take the silver ore that I've been mining. They want to refine it with the Royal Mint, and they want to assay it there so that they can sell it to the Saudis and the Chinese. Like, great, yeah, I could sell tons of ore, right? 10 tons of, technically, I suppose, our native silver to the Saudis and the Chinese. And I could make a mint. But aren't the Saudis and the Chinese the ones doing the BRICS nations at the moment? And like, I'm actually in support, like, to a degree. There's nothing going on out there in the world I am 100% behind, but there are a couple of like interesting little facets to. I think they've changed the design of the boot that they had hoped would be stamping on our face for the rest of humanity, or whatever the literary reference is. But I've had enough of it. So yeah, we've got the Royal Mint want to sell a load of my silver to the Chinese via a Nigerian company, and we've got a contract to supply 2 tons, or nigh on 2 tons, of precious stones to a community regeneration project in Stonehouse. And it's been 8 months since I said to my mate that I'd come and sit behind a desk for at least a day a week in that inhospitable little pit of rats. And it's completely ratified all of my fears. It has completely ratified all of my fears. Thankfully, it's not a static position. I have to move around a lot. So I go away, I get some fresh air, and then I step back into Plymouth. I feel like aggravating myself, and the things that I pick up, just in conversational bits and pieces and little bits of research here and there, are they'd be alarming if I didn't know what the script was ahead of time. To me now, all of this seems funny. See, I'll do probably another one of these videos. Who am I? I've sat and meditated on that at great length under various levels of fire. But we'll do one that's here I am. This is what I do. I've had people getting in touch with me asking how they can enroll in the Funny Farm. And quite frankly, I don't want you to. There are means that you can come and have lodgings and take part in the education syllabus that I've developed and run. We don't have a full-time administrative team. We aren't a funded enterprise. And quite often my works out in the world involving politics and this and that can leave me quite gruff and unsuitable to deliver the level of course engagement that we dare not advertise. So there are ways, we've got sites in Devon, we've got a site now in Cornwall. We're doing all of the outdoor pursuit stuff and all of the stuff that I've ever done, basically all of the stuff that's on my CV. We run courses. I've got a great team. There's 6 guys, real stalwart guys. I think there's a combined amount of what would you say, the years of combined experience out of these 6 guys is 300 years at least. These are guys that are all absolutely proficient in what they do. We've got former merchantmen, we've got former royals, we've got former everything. People that have worked hard for 50 years in dedicated disciplines. I am really, really lucky to have at our disposal, so to speak. And they are just as enthusiastic in imparting that knowledge as I am. So when I'm having a bad time, there's a skeleton crew of guys that keep the fire lit, keep the horses going. They go and round up a goat or two if I need them to. None of them are reliable. This is a completely altruistic, voluntarism enterprise. I'm sure there's a more commercially refined way that I could be running this, where I look at all of the funding that's being doled out. Thankfully, again, that's something that we'll talk about in another video, because what's happening in America, although I dislike a lot of the characters in the play, there are some plot lines taking place over there at the moment that are interesting to me and parallel basically some of the things that I've been doing here in the UK for the last 15 years. So I suppose the arts hole is your UK equivalent of Doge. I used to laugh and say that I'm the witch hunter general. But that's not apt. That's not apt. But I could be an unofficial UK Doge department. That could be another silly logo to play with in the next little while. I do have another one as well concerning some gold. That'll be coming out soon. Yeah, so I'm going to finish my cigarette, and my coffee is probably cold by now. these guys have probably gone and found an entrance to a mine that they don't technically have access to. So I'm going to go and chase them off of my mineral claim. 200 years ago I could have just shot them. It was a simpler time. Wow. Where are we at? About 20 minutes? Oh, that'll do. 15 minutes. I don't like to talk at this bloody thing too long. So yeah, let's go and get on with something. Have a good week. Good luck. Don't take any guff from these swine. Yeah, keep your social media influences positive. Big hugs. Take care. Speak to you soon.